said before, if I have trouble with my connection too much, then I'll stop. I am waiting for a Wi-Fi extender to come in the mail any day now, and I'm hoping that will let me do my live videos in my room and not in the closet. The room that I usually record in is it's a dead room. I can go in the room right next to it and get Wi-Fi fine. So it is Sunday, so this is kind of iffy. Sundays, I don't know. We've decided certain days of the week are worse than others. So I've been these past 2 days feeling very well. I was not feeling well over and over for a long time. And again, it was because of a medication I was put on to help with a tremor. It was called Primidone. The first one they tried was propanolol, and both of them caused depression. And this one was really bad, and pushing me into that mixed type where I was really irritable and just on the edge. And so I stopped taking that, and I feel a lot better. I am what helped me, I did want to share a little bit, is my affirmations on this little clip, and each little card has an affirmation. If you're, you know, into that kind of thing. When my mind is depressed, I can't come up with affirmations. They're inaccessible. So I have them on cards to sort of remind me that, yes, there are people that love me in this world, So it actually did help me during some dark days. I'm still recuperating, but I wanted to do I'm still doing the kits. I have a few more videos about bipolar kits, depression kit, manic kit, and advanced bipolar kit. Or something. I don't know. I forget which ones I've done and haven't done. But anyway, tonight, I wanted to do something very different. And that is 20 questions, but it's 20 bipolar questions. What I mean by that is I came up with 20 questions for you to answer in your own head, in comments or on a piece of paper, however you want to do it, to just be kind of fun. And some of them aren't fun, some of them are fun, but they're all light. I just wanted to stay out of a serious zone for a little bit longer. So I will be answering them as I go. But if you have any answers that you think are especially interesting, if you think, it would be really neat if you would put that in the comments. What time is it? Before I get started, yes, I've got to take my medication. Make sure that one isn't in there anymore. I also, what that medication while I was in that depressed, mixed kind of, I heard a voice in my head. That had never happened before. I had heard things, sort of things, outside of my head, never in my head. It just was a woman's voice that said my name quite clearly, and I couldn't identify it as anybody's, and it was very clear and present. I was laying in bed, and it was like, "Okay, this is wrong. This is not good." So, I'll take the tremor in exchange. So, um, anyway, here goes my 20 questions. So these are 20 questions only somebody with bipolar disorder could answer. Um, what is the funniest thing you have done while manic? It's funny to look back. Obviously, you have to find, looking back, you have to find humor somewhere, or a little giggle or something looking back, or you'll just, I want to say go crazy, but um, I would say the thing that I think of most, that I am like, that was really peculiar, was I bought these two. I went to just buy one, and it was back in the 90s when these things were still in, the, like, nylon, um, athletic outfits, the pants and matching top, and you wear, like, t-shirt underneath, like the gymnasts would wear them and stuff, um, and I bought I couldn't really afford it, but I did it anyway, and it was like this bright orange color. I mean, like, day glow orange. And I saw that and it wasn't even something I would wear. It was the color. I was just walking along, and the color stood out. I was at the mall, which, I'm glad we don't have much of anymore. But I was just going along, and it just jumped out at me from it is one of the sports stores. If somebody had said it, I would say, yeah, that's it. But I forgot the name of it. But and I saw the yellow too. I mean, like, I was gonna just, like, get the jacket. No, gotta have the pants too. And it was coming up to 100 um and something dollars, and I just grabbed the yellow one too. In the sales, they must have been working on commissions, so the sales girl must have, thought that was, this is great, because I ended up spending like 200 something on just these day glow nylon sweat outfits. It you know I didn't go to the gym. I wasn't even fit. It was just the colors were just, like, attracted me. Well, and another one comes to mind is the movie. When I was manic, I saw a movie 25 times within a week's time, because it was so bright, and it had all this noise and dancing and movement, and it was just like, just what the doctor ordered, and just perpetuated my mania. And I'd go, like, bounce from, um, movie theater to movie theater, you know, s and try to be inconspicuous, but I was getting such a high out of that movie. Um, I actually own it, but I've never watched the DVD because I'm afraid it will trigger. I have several movies like that, but anyway, I would say those are the two um, things that I'm like, yeah, that was kind of weird. um, have you ever fired a psychiatrist or therapist, and why? I have fired several psychiatrists. Um, I would know that we weren't going to get along pretty quickly, pretty much walking into the office. Um, one psychiatrist, she had files all over her desk and the floor and the cabinet. And there was somebody there going through them or trying to make sense of them. And she said something about somebody, she lost her office purse. I don't know. It was just a disaster. I'm like, she can't handle me if she can't, if she is working in this mess. And then there was this one where I moved from one city to another city, and they gave me a reference to a psychiatrist. And I went to see this psychiatrist, and he had a real I had good insurance then, and he had a very upscale office, and he was wearing the suit that pristine is the word that comes to mind. And the second time I didn't like the vibe, but I went a second time because I needed my meds. And I went the second time, and I was like a few minutes late, and he like totally ripped me a new one because I was late, and how inconsiderate it was. And he's there on time. And I'm like, dude, um, yeah, I fired him right away. I don't think I've ever fired a therapist. I've only had, well, I fired, yeah, I stopped going to this one aftercare place because they did not want you to get better. They wanted you to stay in the system. They kept sending people back to the hospital. I'm like, nobody gets out of here. I'm leaving. And it was a certain therapist. It was her deal. So yeah, I guess I kind of fired her. Uh, at what age were you diagnosed? Um, I find it interesting now that people are being diagnosed younger. Um, I'm not saying there's a problem. I mean that it can actually be fortunate for people because, you know, back in the day, you went years and years without a proper diagnosis. I was 20, my mid late 20s, 26, I would say. Um, Now my earliest apparent depression, I'd been depressed before, but that was situational. But I had a suicide attempt at 15. And I'm pretty sure I had bipolar disorder then, but they wouldn't diagnose 50. You had to be an adult before you got bipolar disorder diagnosis. And I was misdiagnosed with OCD first. And they just kept giving me Zoloft, and I just kept getting worse. So that's like a whole thing for me to talk about pharmacists and psychiatrists and um, pharmacology. Uh, at what age do you feel you should have been diagnosed? Well, I already said that. I don't think about the one about 15, but the OCD was pretty up. I really think they missed what is the term? Boat on that one. I think that really should have been caught and diagnosed properly. Um, who first suggested that you had or might have bipolar disorder? Um, my primary physician. For me, it was my main doctor. I felt weird. So I went to her and I said, something is wrong. I can't sleep. I can't sit still. I can't stop talking. And and she said, has anyone ever told you that you were bipolar? And I said no. And then I said, I kind of wondered about that, but I don't know that that was true because I knew it was something that had a name. I just didn't know what it was. I just knew it was wrong, felt wrong. So it wasn't family or um, anything like that. Or friends, some people are saying you have bipolar disorder all their lives and they only just find out. Um, some people don't find out till some people don't. It's rare, but there are people who don't get symptoms till late, like 40s. And I heard one woman who was in her 50s, but there are a lot of things that can sort of create that mania, at least. Okay. Number 6 is, what is the scariest thing you witnessed on a psych ward? There was a time where I was in and out, in and out, in and out, before I could take lithium and Seroquel. So, the scariest thing was, um, um, a young man had a rage episode. Well, actually, when I was 15, there was a record player in the music room and somebody broke somebody's record and these two guys got in a big fist fight and I was in the room. But it wasn't very scary. Um, it was a little disturbing, but I was 15 and it was more interesting than scary. But one time I was there and um, a young man just like suddenly had a reacted to something. I don't even know what or why, but he threw a chair and it kind of freaked everybody out. Um, but you know what is the scariest thing I would say is there was this one hospital that was the only place that my doctor they had their patients go to. Um, that they, that anyway, there's a whole story in that. They eventually built their own hospital because it sucked that bad. Um, you would go to it and they wouldn't do anything with you. They would just like maybe give you like these busy work handouts once a day and let you in and out of the smoke room. That was it. I That's really the scary thing. And the doctors knew it. I don't know if it was just that they didn't have the proper staff or what, but they got all the psychiatrists in the area together and they built their own facility. And the minute you walked in, they were already talking about how were you going to learn how what to do to take care of yourself so you don't have to come back to the hospital again. And they were educated. The Everybody was. It was excellent care. But at that one hospital, we were just like being babysat, and we didn't learn anything, and it was just bad. That has to be the scariest. Yeah. That's the scariest, just being put somewhere and somebody locking a room in and out, and that's all you get. Um so number 7 is, what is the longest time you have spent in bed? um Obviously, bathroom breaks. Once when I was a teenager, I was in bed for a good part, besides getting up to drink something or use the bathroom, 3 days. Um, Other than that, only like 16 hours in a depression. Um, I know people can stay in bed for a long time, but my depressions, either I'm just like staring at a wall blank, and then I flip over into this pacing kind of thing, and then I go back to blank. So doing that, um, or I just walk around aimlessly staring off into space. So I was still moving. I was not a big bed person. Um, so, but I know a lot of other people spend a lot of time in bed depressed. Has anyone ever looked at you like you were crazy due to your bipolar disorder, and what were you doing? Um, I Oh, yeah, yeah. When my mixed episodes were first appearing, I, went to a doctor's appointment in a major complex neurological consult, and, there had been construction on the way there, and I was late, and it took me 2 hours to get there, and they wouldn't let me have the appointment. They're gonna make me reschedule, and I had a complete meltdown in the doctor's lobby, big lobby in a big facility, and just was like, "How was I supposed to, know about this construction? I don't live here. I come 2 hours, and I just had a meltdown, and I think they caught wind of who I was, and that I had an bipolar disorder, and they just sorta let me, um, wind down sort of on my own, and I left. But, yeah, I'm embarrassed anytime I think of that, but they were really cool about it. If you could give mania and depression a flavor, what would they be? Well, I would say mania would be the flavor would be maraschino cherries, because 'cause they're so bright and sweet and with the kinda tang to them. Um, and A flavor for depression would be flavor. Uh, Liver. I hate liver, and it's gross, and it's ugly, and it has a nasty, nasty ass texture. So, yeah, that's what I would give them a flavor of. Um, Number 10, describe your deepest depression in one word. Um, Empty. Empty is the word I would use. Um, I mean, sometimes it's dark and sometimes I'm blank, but when I can catch myself staring at a wall and not really know how long I've been doing it and why, and nothing is going on, that's empty. I feel nothing. No sadness, no, just nothingness. Empty. Um, if you could trade for bipolar disorder for a different psychiatric disorder, which would it be? Now, when I made this question out, I knew it would be really hard for me to answer because I don't envy anybody their disorder. And I'm trying to figure out oops, figure out what are um what what all falls into psychiatric disorder and what's a neurological disorder. For example, autism. I don't know enough about it. Is it a neurological disorder or a psychiatric disorder? Um, um, I guess if I had to trade, like, somebody else was gonna have my disorder and I would have theirs, I would opt to not trade because I would not want anyone to ever have to go through what I go through. So, um, maybe I mean, anxiety sucks. Maybe panic disorder, because you have the panic and then you don't. I mean, but it's exhausting. You have soliloquy after. You So, agoraphobia? Are agoraphobics unhappy? I don't know enough about definitely not OCD. That's just or, panic disorders is the worst, okay. See, I have had panic attacks, but I wouldn't list it as one of my disorders. I saw my brother's panic attacks, and I think I mentioned that before, Eric, and you said that it was very similar, the sweating, the shaking, and he it just was just torture to watch, uh, because he would just hyperventilating and yeah, and then you get dizzy and tunnel vision and so yeah, I yeah, I'll I'll okay, I wouldn't want to give anyone my disorder, But if I could, I would trade to, bipolar 2 rather than bipolar 1, but I wouldn't wanna trade with somebody and give somebody mine. That would be mean. Um, okay. Let's see. What am I on? One word. Oh, trade. So we are on number 12. What is the worst side effect you've endured? Um, um, uh, side effect from psychiatric medications. And I've had a lot of bad ones: sedation, weight gain, sexual dysfunction, constipation. I'm gonna say constipation. Yeah. um, so behind that is weight gain. Definitely weight gain. Once I there was a period where I was on and off different meds, and this is way back when, and they were still using Risperidol, Zyprexa, Remeron, and I had those, if not at the same time, one after the other, and I gained a lot of weight, and I I gained a lot. I went from tiny to enormous, and then I finally got on lithium and Seroquel, and I was able to lose weight, and I lost way too much weight and ended up having an eating disorder type problem. But then my life got healthier, and therefore my body followed until I hit until I stopped working. But it was happening at work too, and so I kinda think it was a little bit age related and, stress eating stress eating, bad carb craving, that's bad. So the worst, constipation. Because it can mess things up forever, and then you have to take other stuff to fix that, and that's horrible. So, um, I know you all wanted to hear that, but the fact of the matter is that a lot of us are have been through it, so I'm not gonna be shy. I did take I was on Zoloft at a higher dose, and I had sexual dysfunction, and I immediately talked my doctor, and we got rid of it. So, um, at the time, that was a concern. Okay, who is that family member that just doesn't get it? I um I have this new group, huge group of family that I only just was introduced to about 4 years ago. Now, the people I've grown up with and have been around me all my life have an understanding that I have times where I'm doing well, when I'm not doing so hot and when I'm doing a little too good, and it's just a matter of fact kinda. I mean, nobody talks about it, but it's understood that, I have to do special things to take care of my deal. So I have this new group of people, and they only know me from, like, week-long visits each year, and they don't get it. They don't get the anxiety, they don't get the bipolar disorder. I have tried to explain it as simply as I tell them, "You are doing great. You are doing everything to accommodate me and make me feel included, and I love coming here and spending time here, but if you happen to notice I'm a little more quiet, and then maybe a little more talkative, is probably part of my bipolar disorder." And I had this entire interaction with one of my sisters about how they like to have these huge gatherings, and I like going to them. They're stressful for me, but I just go and I just sorta sit in a group of people and listen to what they talk to. If they address me, I answer. Um, I usually pick out a person or 2 that I'm most comfortable with and sort of follow them around. And at the end of the day, I'm really exhausted, and sometimes not sometimes, but all the time, I will go into the bathroom to just regroup, and I had to explain to her that just because I'm being quiet doesn't mean I'm not enjoying myself. I'm and she kept saying, "Well, when you come next time, we'll be sure to respect that, what." And I'm like, "No, don't change anything. I can cope with it myself. I enjoy it. It's just not what I'm used to." And she just doesn't get it. And I'm gonna approach this question at some point this year because I'm going out in June, um, to a memorial event and stay for a little while, um, for my sister that died in the car accident. And, I'm gonna explore. They're not very religious. They are religious. They are Jesus and God, and they go to church, and um they pray, and but they're open to, you know, people of all races, sexual orientations, and they just they're kind of hippie-ish slash Christian. Anyway, I need to explore how they feel with their faith, religion about mental illness to see if there's something going wrong. Like, maybe that's where our miscommunication is. Like, you know, do they maybe believe that if I prayed enough, I could pray it away? Um, like, no, I think the most I could do is pray that I'm able to take care of it well. So I need to explore that to see if maybe that's where they're coming from. I don't know. It's always e I just avoid the people. I don't wanna avoid some of them, though. I give them a little more She tries so hard, that's the thing, she's trying. Um, but she thinks that I'm upset, and I'm not. I'm just being me. Like, really? I'm very casual today. Um, let's see. The longest you have gone without sleep. I have answered this a few times in the past. I slept for 2 weeks. Did not sleep for 2 weeks straight. Nothing, not a nod, nothing. And I was in a mixed episode, and it, and the more I stayed awake, the faster my thoughts were going, and my body was exhausted, but my brain was keeping it moving. And it was so bizarre because I was in my pajamas and I had a blanket, and I was walking up and down the streets in the middle of the night because it just freaked me out, and I was so upset that the whole world was sleeping right now, and I'm in this torture chamber. I would lay down outside on the deck. It was just, I was engaged at the time, we lived together. It was just really uncomfortable for me to keep getting up and laying in bed, and it it was mind-blowingly awful. So, yeah, 2 weeks, and my thoughts were completely out of this world. They were messed up. I don't ever wanna have anything like that happen ever again. I What is it like for someone who is doing meth or cocaine and they don't sleep? Do they get the same way, or do they get high with each, time they ingest or whatever they're doing? Um, I didn't get any pleasure mixed in there, so that kinda sucked. Okay, what is the most amount of money you have spent during a bout of mania? Um, this one I'm really curious to know, because that is my big downfall, is shopping, online shopping, impulsive. Um, I have a record collection. Well, okay, so I got way back when I was accepted for disability, I had not worked for a full year or more. And so they grandfathered it in. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Um, and I got this check for $10,000. Excuse me again. I'm sorry. I have to keep burping because I keep drinking water, and I have to drink water. Um, and it was my money to do with what I wanted. But what did I do? I got a new laptop with all the bells and whistles. And then I proceeded to buy um, vinyl records, collect records, and in true manic form, there was this one band that put out the same album well, 45, but on different colors of vinyl, or maybe, and also there were a couple that the cover was different, had to have every single one. So my days were spent cruising eBay, Craigslist, Record Collection Guild, um, buying um, just record after record after record. And I can't say that the entire 10,000 was spent on exclusively albums, but I can tell you I spent it all, and I I just had spent willy-nilly, and um and it was in a certain short period of time, and I would get a high every time I get a package. And we now know, my mom now is aware that if she starts to see package after package, um, she'll say something. And I will tell her, now I've ordered a few things. They're minor little things I need. So don't freak out when you see packages. But that is like the signal for her to ask me, you've got a lot of packages coming. You okay? So, I mean, if I look at them, I would say I probably spent 8,000. And to a lot of people, that's not a lot, um, uh, at once, um, during that one episode. Um, I have developed ways to be a little more responsible with my money. But, those stimulus checks, I had trouble. I had trouble paying off using them to pay off medical stuff when I wanted, so many things I had to get that weren't really necessary. Okay. Well, what is your best manic superpower? And I don't know. Wait. I don't know if you know what I mean. Okay. So I'm going to describe mine. My super manic power is that um, when I am really, really high, like euphoric high, this doesn't happen to me much anymore, but when it did, I felt like I knew that I had a better understanding of life and events and the connections between these things than anybody around me. Everybody around me, they were peons. They were nowhere near the intellectual capabilities of me. I got it. I was given special powers to understand the deeper meanings and connections to events and what people said to each other. And I would walk around, and this is when I was in nursing, working, and I would just be laughing at the other nurses because they were just so out of the loop. clueless, stupid. I was just so much more. And, um, and that would lead to trouble. Um, so I wouldn't say I felt like I could read minds, but I did feel like I had my superpower was detecting the underlying meaning of life. And that's when my poetry came out. Because to me, the underlying meaning of life could be nasty and great at the same time. So that's why people aren't allowed to read it. um, so I would really like to know if you ever had a superpower, like, or if you like thought you were somebody that you were not. Um, or like I could see a movie or read a book and I could detect the real meaning that the author meant for me to understand. They knew I would read it and I would understand. I don't get that anymore because I don't get the euphoria anymore. I get mixed, which is just miserable. Okay. 17. What is your worst mixed episode feature symptom? If you get them. I'm starting to get uncomfortable. um, I would say um, the symptom is that buildup of pressure. I'm trying not to explode on somebody. I'm trying not to throw something against the wall or smash it. Um, I'm trying not to yell at somebody. And it is in every muscle. I'm controlling every muscle. And it's just like it wants out so bad. And I try so hard not to let it out. And lately, what I've done is just gone off for a walk without much explanation whatsoever. Because in the past, it has come out, and then the irritable, agitated outburst is directed towards the only person there, which is my mom. And then I would feel very upset because what I said can't be taken back, even if you say you're sorry. But that feeling inside of you of just the, it's not even tension, it's worse than tension. It's just like a volcano wanting to erupt. That's the worst symptom. You get an inflated ego, like you think you're all that in a bag of chips. um, let's see. 18. What is your favorite mania music? Yeah. What is your favorite mania music? I have a playlist on my iPod for mania. And a rapid beat stuff. Oh, it says, when I'm manic, I like to listen to probably dance type techno. and go for a walk and, like, totally walk it off. And, but I also like to listen to, when I'm manic, um, 70s, early 80s rock. Um, but I have the playlist is called Jukebox. So it would be like Journey and Foreigner and, Bob Seger, um, Kiss, and stuff like that. I associate it with when I went to the pizza place with my cousin and she'd give me money for the jukebox, and that's what I would pick. Cranberries fan. Yeah, I like Cranberries. Um, there's a band called Cranes that came out about the same time. They're very interesting. You have to be in the right mood though. But they're similar to Cranberries. Um, what is your dream mania vacay? What I mean by that is, what destination do you feel you would have the best time that would suit your type of mania the best? The best. Like, I think, some people, Las Vegas might be their deal, which I could see with all the nightlife and lights and gambling. Um, uh, my dream vacation, mania vacation. I like to get a lot of sunlight. Um, when I'm manic, I like to be outside. I don't like to, like, lay out and get sun. I like to be doing something, like going for car rides with the windows down and, um, I would say for me, some sort of beach destination, not party though. And I could just absorb how blue the sky is and how white the beach is, have a few drinks and just absorb the sun and not be bothered a whole lot, which no, okay, I take that back. Take that back. Uh, I don't know where this would be, but it would be in a city at night, and there'd be lights and, um, nothing gentrified, like the old parts. And, um, when I was a teenager, I miss being a teenager. Um, we would go hang out, at, this place called Central West End, U City Loop, and they would have record stores, and, um, that's about where the, bands would play, but you could look you could do anything to your hair and dress in any way, nobody would look the other way, and people just cruising around, goofing around, but I'd also have to go back in time so I could be life, just walking around the city, seeing the lights flashing, and, maybe stopping in a record store. um, just walking around, having being with someone who's also manic, so you can have that super um, deep, uh, or what you think is deep conversation. Uh, that would be mine. City. I don't know what city it would be though. I I haven't been to many cities. Um, okay. Okay, my 20th question is I can't make sense of it. It says, how long did it take to come up depressed? And I don't really know what I meant by that. Um, how long it Well, I know one thing. A lot of people are diagnosed with depression first and then later bipolar disorder. Um, how long? For me, it was about 10 years in between. Did I mean by the how long was it the longest to get that it took you to get out of a depression? If that's what I meant, little over a year. I was in I was in a depression. Um, so that was my 20 questions. I hope you enjoyed them or will enjoy them if you listen to them later. Um, I'm going to go ahead and get ready for bed. So, good night to you all.